Good evening, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV, where we believe that everyone has the potential to be a giant in their own world. Hang tight, because in this episode, we will discover how to move from a failure to success in business and sales. But I'm glad it's not the other way around. So if you're a success and want to go to a failure, this is not the show for you. Stick around. We're going to wake up the inner giant. Woo! Wouldn't that be an awkward show? How to go from success to failure. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I am Ryan Morris, co-creator of Wake Up with Giants TV and A Tribe of Giants. And I'm here with Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls, and probably a better looking half for a business partner. I'm so grateful for him. He didn't do a hat today though.
No,
I'm kind of sad. I'm the only one.
I don't even have one to put on right here. So,
oh, wow! Look at you.
Yeah,
new do.
new you, old do.
Yeah, he's also the creator of the author. I guess that's a creator too of the Tortoise's Hair, and we're more than halfway funded with less than 30. Well, we have like 35 days. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Hey, whoa, look at me do math quick.
About 60% there. So we're just about there.
Hurry and go to tortoiseshair.com, and you can look and see how you can contribute or participate as we try to raise the money and the funds that needed to get this amazing message out into the world, because it is an amazing message. It's about empowerment, and it's a beautiful written book. The illustrations are going to be off the charts. We've got some previews on there, and
off the charts and on the books.
Off the charts and on the books. So we will hit that goal, but we'd love to have you participate in helping us get that funded and being a part of it, because your voice is going to help dictate some of the process of how we do things. So go to tortoiseshair.com. If you want to know everything that we're up to, giantsandsmalls.com, you can sign up for the newsletter. You'll see when we go live, just like this, every single dang time. You can come join us like in A Tribe of Giants or on YouTube. Those are some wonderful places to catch us. We're building an interest group in our SG programs that are going on. So that's our 12-week or our 8-week course on our 12 journeys. There we go.
Yeah.
Maybe I need a little more caffeine or something.
Well, I thought, when you said that's a wonderful time, I thought it was a Mr. Rogers introduction. That's good.
Kind of is. What else do we have going on, Nick, that I'm missing?
Well, there's quite a bit. Go to our events calendar. We're going to have our events on there on giantsandsmalls.com. That's the best place to see what we're up to outside of the newsletter.
There's a lot of events. Next week, we're launching a course of teaching everything, the behind the scenes of all the tech that we're doing. So this includes Chat GPT, what other things?
Yeah, AI, PRM, Involve.me, StreamYard that we use for our podcasting, YouTube. We're going to give it all away.
Yeah.
So if you want to know our secrets, how we create courses in a day, then you'll want to be there.
These are all of Nick's secret subscriptions. So if you're into subscriptions and want to know how all of this works,
right?
Yeah, this is how it goes. So look for that too in the events and Facebook and all the places that we are. So, Nick, we've got a special guest today. I am so excited. Will you introduce our amazing guest?
I would love to. We've got Eric Lofholm. He's a renowned sales trainer, author, and he has over 20 years of experience in that industry. He's helped thousands of salespeople and entrepreneurs improve their skills and achieve their goals. His unique approach to sales training focuses on the mindset and psychology of sales, which has helped many people break through their limiting beliefs and reach new levels of success. He's the author of 15 books on sales and success. He's been a top producer for 3 companies, including Tony Robbins' company. And it's an honor to have you here with us today, Eric. Welcome to the show.
I greatly appreciate the invite. I'm excited to be here and share some great ideas with your listeners.
We
That's
need a
awesome.
crowd noise or something like that because I'm like,
You know what? Actually, we can upload that. I'm going to do that. I'll pull
yeah,
that in. Yeah.
yeah, we need
It'll
it
be
bad.
like the old TV shows, right? Where you had
Yeah,
the
except for I'll hit
applause.
the button way too much because I get kind of excited about that stuff. Let's go.
Let's
That's what
go.
Eric said
Let's
when
go
we
for
hopped on. I'm
failure.
like, we
Let's
ready? And
go.
he's
Let's
like,
do
let's
this.
go.
Well, let's look at your journey. I like to start with everybody's journey. Going back in time, there must have been a point where you were not very good at sales, I would imagine, right?
Yep.
Like when he was like 6 months old.
Yeah, 6 months old, not very good, couldn't sell anything. Couldn't.
He was the worst at 6 months old.
Yeah. And was there a point? Was there a point that you kind of had an awakening that I want to do something different? I want to do sales.
Yeah, I ended up going to work for a real estate investor to learn exactly that. And he said, if you want to work for me, you got to do sales. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm like, I'll do customer service, the mailroom, whatever you want me to do. And it was sales. So I was with him that first year, and I was the bottom guy on the team, and struggled and I missed quota 2 months in a row, and was told about the 3 strikes and you're out rule. I had 1 more month to hit the quota. I was written up for missing the quota, and I was about to lose my job. And so that was a turning point, is like I had to learn how to sell or I was out. So that was the point in my life.
So many guys that like hit that refiner's fire, like it's do or die.
Yeah.
That right there is a huge nugget, right? When the fire is felt, it's like, ooh, I better step it up. And there's something about that where I've watched it happen in RV. I do RV sales. I've watched multiple guys where they are on the chopping block, and it's like the switch. It's like, oh, something's lit. That's amazing.
So what kicked in for you? What did you do from there? So you're at the edge of this like burning pit of despair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you do?
Intention is a really powerful thing.
Okay.
And I attracted in the Obi-Wan Kenobi of sales training.
Huh.
So a true living master, a man named Dr. Donald Lemoyne, who wrote his PhD dissertation on what separates sales superstars from average salespeople. So he cracked the code, wrote a document, his PhD dissertation on that, and he started teaching me the science of selling. And I'd never been professionally trained at that point. So with his ideas, I hit quota by 1 sale. And the next month, I did 5 times quota and became the top producer, and I never looked back.
Wow. Ooh. Wow. Now, mindset, was it affected? So when they came to you and said, look, you're at the bottom of the list, how did that affect your mindset, and how did you move through that? So you had this knowledge and this information, but tell me about mindset right there.
Yeah, what was going on in the head of Eric Lofholm? Because me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I suck.
The mindset part, it came later.
Okay.
Because I didn't know anything about mindset. All I knew was I was afraid.
Okay.
And so I was newly married. I did not tell my wife that I was on quota probation. And I was just like, cross my fingers, hope and pray. I got really spiritual.
Yeah. All of a sudden. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't know anything about mindset. I just knew I was afraid. So what happened was I got the how-to techniques. How do you structure a presentation? How do you overcome an objection? How do you close? And so those how-to techniques are what created the breakthrough. And then later in my career, I started learning about mindset and how to shift mindset. And, a lot of my work now is mindset focused, but that breakthrough was created almost exclusively from the how-to techniques.
There really was a drive to shift things, because energetically, I can imagine that was really uncomfortable, really painful. Right. And so I would imagine, from the work that we do, we deal mainly with mindset. We have skills like this, like the sales, but the mindset for us is everything. Because if you have the best skills in the world, without the right mindset, then they could be less effective, right? They could still work to a degree, but they're not going to be as effective as they could be. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that? Can you go into that a little bit? Why is that?
Well, what I've learned as I've been on this journey now for 30 years is we have a lot of
time. Yeah.
So you were 6 months when you started.
Yeah.
we have a lot more influence over what we're creating in reality than what I think people realize. So I got this coaching client and he says to me, I'm inconsistent with my prospecting. I start and I stop. I just can't get myself to be consistent. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get that. Like, if you're declaring that that's who you are, then that's who you are. And I said, why don't you just declare that you're consistent? I said, I do 25 or more reach outs Monday through Friday, every day, bar none. That's what I declare. So I said, why don't you can keep being inconsistent or just be consistent like me. And so he realized, oh, I could just choose consistency, and something clicked in his brain and he's consistent now. I mean, every day he's doing his prospecting.
Yeah.
And I didn't teach him the techniques of prospecting. I taught him about how he's creating his reality through what he's speaking. And so I had no clue of that back when I was just getting started.
Yeah.
Like, you could like shift your reality. Like, what? It's pretty radical idea.
Can you separate for me mindset from feelings?
Well, mindset, if I'm really into prospecting, that's like one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And so if I'm declaring I'm an elite prospector, I am a master prospector, I am consistent, that mindset has nothing to do with how I feel. Like last night, I didn't feel like doing my 25 reach outs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did them anyway because I am a master prospector, and that's what a master prospector does. And so it's not feelings. Like, we can feel all kinds of different ways, but we can take action independent of how we're feeling.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Motivation. A lot of people talk about motivation. If you're more motivated, if you could feel better about this, maybe you would accomplish something. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that how we feel is really, really important, and we can take action whether we feel like it or not.
Right.
I don't always feel like going to the gym, but I consistently go, and it's the feelings are there, but it doesn't have to be the driver of my behavior.
Yeah. I just want to find one more way to get you to say it one more time. Right.
I've got friends though, like that'll get stuck in like I got to do these calls. I got to do this follow up. Or I got to do this or this and this. And for me, it's like, no, for me, it's, what do I want more? Do I want to stay like be broke, or do I want a 6-figure income?
Yeah.
And it's like, the calls don't look so bad, and cold calling or prospecting, if you're in a slump, if you are the bottom guy, there is pain in it to a degree. It's not typically it's not like the absolute best effective way of gaining like buyers.
Yeah.
But what it does for you, or one thing it does for you, and you could probably go into a billion different things that it does for you. One thing it does for you is make you explore every other way to go out and get somebody, enrolled in what you're doing. So you're like, oh, you're dreading those phone calls, and you're like, oh, I don't want to cold call. We'll start cold calling, because what's going to happen is you're going to think of other ways too, as you're cold calling, that can increase your sales. You could call an old customer that's now not a cold call, that's a friendly conversation, and start talking to that person and see how they're doing and see if they have referrals. And it's interesting once you get into motion what breaks free. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, the prospecting doesn't have to be a cold call, right? And like, I'm here right now with you guys because I reached out over Facebook and I'm like, hey, let's have a conversation. I had a meeting with a guy earlier today. It was a coaching enrollment conversation, and I started prospecting him in 2019. I reached out 11 times without him even responding. Okay. And after the 11th time, he finally responded. And bottom line is, I had an appointment with him today out of those reach outs. And I'm not always that relentless, but with him, I was that relentless. And what I've discovered, I can just go out and get what I want, right? If I'm like, you guys are doing your, putting your fundraiser together, whatever you call it, for your book project. It's like, it's just a matter of going out there and telling enough people your story, and you tell enough people, and the money comes in. And whether I'm doing an event, it's I just go out and get what I want.
Okay. So I've been playing with this today specifically because I woke up this morning and I'll say a low energy. Like I was feeling anxious, a little bit depressed, looking at reality, like, okay, what else can I do? Because we've done it thousands, not 8,000, thousands, right? Make this really bad grammar here. So we've done so many things around the giants and the smalls and building this platform and growing it. And there are points where you hit that you feel like, man, I feel like I've exhausted everything.
Mhm.
And then I'm sitting there thinking about that. And I'm like, well, what would I do if I could play with what's around me and the resources that are available to me? What could I do? And that's where I think people get stuck is they want to know how to move forward. But really what it is, it's looking around you and seeing what's available to you. Okay, what do I have to work with? And how can I make that work in such a way that I can create what I have in mind? And to me, that tool of prospecting is one of many tools that you probably have in your tool belt where you can just wake up in the morning and say, okay, what do I have available to me? Hey, prospecting. I'm going to try that on and I'm going to blend it today with this. So it's like creating these recipes, right?
Yeah.
For success. Does that bring anything up for you?
Hang on 1 second.
A dog. It brings up something for the dog.
Well, what comes up for me is to leverage networks.
Okay.
And this is one of my favorite ideas. So using, what are you calling your guy? Is it a fundraiser? What are you calling your book project?
Yeah, it's an Indiegogo campaign. It's a book. It's a fundraiser for that book.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's a campaign. So what you would do is one way to fill the campaign is to leverage networks. So like I have a network, right? I have a sales training company. I have a following. So you can look for people like me in your network and you say, hey, can I get 5 minutes of your time? And I would say, sure. Like that would be an automatic yes.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, we've got this book project. We're doing a campaign. Would you be willing to help get out word about the campaign to your network?
Yeah. Hold on. Hey, Eric, do you have 5 minutes?
I do. I got 5 minutes right now.
We're going to do some live role play.
I got this great idea. We got this campaign.
I would do that.
I love your network. Yeah.
I would do that for you to support because I believe in what you're doing.
I love that.
And what happens is like,
same for you as well. 100%.
We don't realize how powerful we are.
Yeah.
So the other day I cold prospected the CEO of the Hunger Project, which is one of the most influential organizations in the world dedicated to eradicating hunger globally.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
I cold prospected the CEO on LinkedIn, and within 24 hours, I got an appointment with him. Then I found out he was coming out to California, and I had lunch with him 2 Wednesdays ago. And like most people think, well, who am I to reach out to the CEO? He's busy. He's out solving world hunger. He doesn't have time for little old me.
They've already played it out, right? Like,
yeah,
like they know how it's going to go.
Exactly. And then it's like the prospecting, he's probably going to say no. And when I prospect, I don't think about their response. I focus on my activity.
Yeah.
So when I reached out to him, I mean, it takes a lot of confidence this guy's a big deal, but I'm not looking at it going, he's probably going to say no, even though he probably is going to say no. But he didn't. Yeah. He said yes. And so we had this amazing lunch. And the thing is, we're all powerful like that. I've been surprised so many times reaching out and making requests of people.
Yeah.
And them saying yes. Like I asked Brian Tracy for an endorsement and I got it. And I was like, yes. Oh my gosh, wow. Like Brian Tracy, because I grew up on Brian Tracy going to his seminars, right? And so
for those who don't know, he's one of the greatest in personal development that's out there too. Like he's a legend. Just like Eric Lofholm.
He's one of those human beings that is a legend.
It's like a Les Brown, Tony Robbins,
yep,
Zig Ziglar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And so like what you could do, or anybody listening, is you can sell one-to-one, which is fine. You can ask people, hey, here's my campaign. Would you contribute? Or you can also go to a network. So you find someone like me that has a network, and then you sell me on getting the word out to the network.
Right?
Yeah. Or influencers, right? Like
go ahead.
The same idea, like an influencer. In a way, you have influence over your network. So you're an influencer in that network, just like we're influencers in our network. If we came to our network and said, hey, check out Eric Lofholm, we want you to hear his information. It's kind of what we're doing tonight a little bit. Hey, check out Eric's information. It's good. It's going to be useful for what you're doing. I love that. Yep. So we've gone down the road of both ways, like going after networks and also doing the one-to-one, because there is movement in the one-to-one. And sometimes we get really good investments in what we're doing from those one-to-one conversations, because those people by themselves are a network in and of themselves, if that makes sense. They're just, they have the power to move the world. Some of these people, whether they had a following or not, they have that ability.
Yeah.
And so I find that you've got to kind of blend things up. You got to try different things. We've tried marketing, advertising, asking, posting about it, talking about it in every show. We're like you say, relentless. I've been doing this since 2009.
Yeah.
Right. And we've been doing the Giants and the Smalls since about 2020.
Yeah.
And I tell you, we don't stop. We're just relentless.
You guys are already doing phenomenal, and you're impacting the world, and bigger breakthroughs are totally predictable.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm like you. I just keep at it and keep at it, keep at it and keep at it. And sometimes I go swing the bat and I miss. And other times, I get a single, but I'm relentless like that too.
Yeah.
As much success as I've had, I feel like I'm just barely scratching the surface on what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I got a several decade run still in me, and so I'm just going to your point, I'll do the one-on-ones, I'll do the networks, I'll do the this, I'll do the that. And I just keep at it. And
is that the name of one of the books? Do the that.
Do the that. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do the that.
This, do the that.
Here's the thing that's interesting too, isn't it? And I don't know, for those of you at home, you're like, oh yeah, but you're Eric Lofholm, you're Ryan Morris, you're Nick Smith. Yeah, but we weren't always. Guess how we got here? The swinging the freaking bat. It's like, and you don't stop after phone call number 3. You're like, this doesn't work. No, you make that list and you pound through it, because what if phone call 101 was that guy? What if it was an Eric Lofholm? What if it was a Ryan Morris or a Nick Smith that said, yeah, sure, why not?
I sold real estate years ago, and I was told I've only had one disappointment in my career. This guy said this to me, and it's you. And it was hiring you. And I'm like, holy crap. And that was the end of that career. And so, but you think about Einstein too. Einstein was a terrible insurance salesman. He went selling insurance and he failed at it, but he found his calling somewhere else, and for me, that's what I've been working on, is finding my calling. I could do sales, but man, I love sitting with people in conversation. So what I've learned to do is translate that conversation, that ability to really get people to open up and share with me in sales.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm still listening.
All right.
That's okay. Believe you. And like a Thomas Edison, is if you found the thing that you like doing, but there's still like the key to every struggling business is sales. I promise you, it's sales.
Yeah.
It leads right back to it every single time. And so if you're struggling and getting momentum going, you work on your sales. But you might have where, hey, phone call number 13 is a hit, or is a single. Phone call 27 is a home run. Phone call 53 is a triple, a double. It can go on and on and on like that. You might hit a streak or not hit a streak of no's. That's okay. Keep going, because what's going to happen is it's going to refine you and narrow down of what's not working. It's the Thomas Edison. It's the 1,000 ways that this thing does not work. And you're going to get better and better and better. And if you want proof of this, I'm sure Eric Lofholm has a bunch of things on his website way back, or on Facebook, that weren't as good as they are today. We do. Fact. Yeah, you go there. Right. That's a fact. You go to Wake Up with Giants TV, watch episode 1. I'm like, oh, what? Yep. What were we doing? And now some of you still look at it like, hey, maybe this is still a train wreck. But the train wreck is getting a little better. I promise. We've got some fire extinguishers now.
In fact, we've been told that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very unprofessional.
Yeah.
But we love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's keep that conversation going. So let's look at some tools. Or I don't know if you grabbed something off the screen there that you wanted to share, Eric, or if we want to just kind of keep going.
Yeah. Keep going.
Good.
Talk about any aspect of sales that you guys want.
See, I'm not even keeping up with the comments. See what kind of train wreck we're on? But we're somebody's favorite out there. Thank you, Rebecca. And it's morning time for her. It's the first like Australian morning. You know, she's
Yeah,
down there in
a little
Australia.
bit of sunshine out
Yeah,
there.
it's
So
8 o'clock
let's look
here.
at this, because if you look at skill sets are important when it comes to sales. There are things you can learn, techniques you can learn. There are a ton of them out there. And so knowing which ones to pay attention to, because everybody wants to sell you something. They want to sell you the next idea. And so you go into these videos or TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and you're like, oh, this is great. And then they get to this point of, hey, buy my $7 product. So the product isn't the solution. A lot of times what I find is, how did they get you to that product? Did you pay attention to that? Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, how do you advise people, or maybe not advise, but share with people to find the right information or the most useful information? Like, what are your suggestions around that?
Well, at the end of the day, I look at sales as a system.
Yeah.
And so, it's finding people that you resonate with, that are hopefully tried and true, and they have systems that are, successful in producing results. That's what I learned from my mentor, Dr. Moyne, is a system. And so how do you structure an effective sales presentation? And once you have that down, you've got it down forever.
Yeah.
How do you create a lead? How do you set an appointment?
Yeah.
And so, I'm somebody who have been selling for 30 years. I've been teaching sales for the last 24 years. And so my content is very practical, how to step-by-step, kind of a thing. And so
Right.
I've got people that, love the way I teach it, and they resonate with that. And if you resonate with my approach, I can help you. If it's somebody else, then, gravitate towards them.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about we used to do a thing called the 8 P's of training,
Mm-hmm.
right? Possibilities, preparation, planning, policies, procedures, perception, purpose. But one of the things that I always start with if I'm learning something new is, how do I write the dang thing up? Somebody says yes to me and I screw up the deal because I didn't know how to contract it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how important is it to know how to write somebody up in your system?
Well, obviously critical, and we want to go into the sales presentation ready to take the order, right? Okay. So if I'm I'll do a lot of enrollment in sales meetings. So I might go down to the local Century 21 office and be the guest speaker, and I'll sell my sales training system. And so I've got to have my order forms with me ready to go, make sure I have put one in everybody's hand, have them fill it out, or they can, go order online. And so I'm going to call that the order mechanism. How does the person actually buy, what you were talking about?
Yeah.
So we need to know that. And we also need to know the language of what we're going to say when we get to the end, because some people deliver the presentation and they forget to ask for the order.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I'd want to know, when you walk in and start the presentation over Zoom, over the phone, or face-to-face, like, how's that whole thing going to go? And have that mapped out. And sometimes there's pre-work before the presentation even starts. Like, I got to talk to the Century 21 sales manager and make sure they understand I'm coming in to make an offer. So is that okay? Can I end the meeting so they can go out to their car and get their credit card if they need to? Are you willing to pay some of it? Because if I don't get that upfront agreement, then everybody looks to the manager and says, well, are you guys going to pay? And the manager goes, well, I'm not really sure. Well, I'm dead in the water at that point.
Right. Yeah. We've given some really great presentations where we've done just that, where we haven't given like just a real clear way to do anything with us. They're like, that was awesome. Too many. Have a nice day. And then it's like, oh my gosh, what were we doing?
Selling is a very intentional style of communication. So it's the kind of thing where it's really about planning.
Yep.
In many cases, we're delivering a repetitive presentation. In other words, the realtor is doing a listing presentation, and whether it's a condo or a house or a mansion,
that's true.
The presentation's the same. The paperwork's the same. So if you take the time out to really hone it and not just show up and wing it, right? Deliver a professional presentation. And so that's a huge part of what I'm up to, is teaching people, how do you prepare in advance? How do you handle the objections? How do you close? How do you ask the probing questions? What's the structure of the presentation?
Yeah.
And then once they learn those things, they've got it forever.
Okay. So what comes to mind for me is I've done finance and F&I in RVs.
Yeah.
And so for me, I got really good at priming people, setting them up, anchoring them in, and then getting good at my presentation. I would be able to sell a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 product in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could have 5 minutes with this person, I would do it on paper. And all we were selling was a promise on paper. Mm-hmm. So no tangible product, just a piece of paper that says, we'll do this. Right. Which I think is a pretty tough sell. When it came to tangibles, is like, oh, this is easy. There's something I can show on paper. It's just my word against that piece of paper. Mm-hmm. And so I learned to really get good. Like you said, it's a presentation. And when you can learn the like there are presentations that are more effective than others. So a lot of people would pull out a menu, they'd read the menu. It's like those people that get up on stage and read their script in front of their presentation and everybody's falling asleep. That happens in the sales process. Mm-hmm. So we would draw it out because it would keep them engaged. It's storytelling. Mm-hmm. And so they would be pulled into the story. And then, would you like to go ahead and do that? That was my closing question. Would you like to go ahead and do that? Right. So that presentation, I just wanted to highlight what you brought up is just, it doesn't take a lot of time, but it does take a lot of time to get good at that presentation.
And it's also knowing the persuasion points. And so that was part of my problem when I was the bottom producer back in the day. I didn't know how to persuade somebody. Okay. I didn't know how to structure the presentation. And so Dr. Moyne taught me all these different techniques like strategic storytelling as an example. So how do you tell a story? And once you have a good story down, you tell the same story over, not new for you, but it's new for the prospect.
Right.
If you followed me around and watched me present, you'd hear me tell the R.V. Robinson story or the Doak Belt story. These are clients of mine that I helped. Yeah. And you'd hear me tell the same story over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because it works.
That's right.
And you when you get it, like in my world, I'm in RV sales. And so you get one customer and you go through that whole process or however far they'll go with you. Mm-hmm. And then you get called up to the front to go do another one. And it's like, here we go again. Hey, I'm right. Like you start like back into your thing again. Right. And just, that's like the same thing. If you're like, well, here we go again, mentally. Right. And you're like, so then I was back. I went camping with my family. And if you go camping like I do, you're going to want this. They're going to, you got to be like, build the value and the excitement and share the product in that way. And storytelling in that is very, very powerful.
And you get better with practice. One thing I say, I have this book called The Art of Accomplishment. And one of the statements in there is, in order to get what you want out of life, you got to be willing to suck at something long enough to get good at it. Yep. And really, like when you're starting out in sales, your title here says how to move from failure to success. And it's through a lot of failure, a lot of missing the mark. That's how I define the word failure is it's a negative yield from your efforts. That's all it is. It just means what you did didn't work. And so there's a lot of that and a lot of adjusting. I think it was Charles Darwin that said that it's the most adaptable to change that survive. How important is adaptability when it comes to your sales process?
Yeah, well, if you think about what's happened over the last few years with the economy, with inflation, with interest rates, I mean, here we are live streaming right now. And 20 years ago, this technology didn't even exist. Right? I mean, I'm on TikTok now. I never thought I'd be on TikTok, right? So, and virtual selling is a major thing. Social media is a big aspect of how we sell. I do a lot of my prospecting with direct messaging over social media. And so all of these things are things that require adapting. And so what made you successful 20 years ago is there's pieces of it that are going to be applicable today, but it's a whole different ball game nowadays. I mean, Zoom didn't exist back then, so. But
the techniques did. And those techniques that worked back then, basic communication, they still work. What Brian Tracy did, what he did works now. It's just a different platform, right?
That's right.
Yeah. People are still people. It's just how we communicate is a little different.
Yep.
Yeah. So that adaptability to the technology, this course that we're teaching next week is all about the technology, because you could have all that technology and have all these great things, but then you're not in conversation with people. And really what sales is about is conversation and dialogue. Right.
Yeah.
And so I used to just build all these things, but not talk to people. And so I was like, why is my business not growing?
Yeah.
Nobody knew. Yeah.
Well, the magic is when we get with people one-on-one, right? If you look at our being here together right now, it's because it wasn't one-on-one. It was, the two of you and me, but same thing.
Yeah.
We got on a Zoom. We didn't just dialogue electronically. I mean, we did some of that, but then to get on a Zoom. And so for all of you listening right now, you got to get people on the phone or at coffee or over Zoom. That's where the relationships get built, the connection, the opportunity. And so I'm huge on that. Like when I'm prospecting to get one-on-one with somebody so I can further the relationship.
Okay. I want you to share some of your favorite books on sales.
So this one is a goal-setting book. It's not well known, but it's brilliant. It's called Future Diary by Mark Victor Hansen. My mentor, Dr. Moyne, wrote Unlimited Selling Power. That's a great one. Tom Hopkins wrote How to Master the Art of Selling.
Very good.
That's a great one. The book I would recommend of mine the most would be The System, which is on Audible. You can get it on paperback too, but some of you are listening right now. You've got Audible credits. That's a really great how-to step-by-step sales book.
If you're in sales and don't have Audible credits, you better get some Audible credits.
Audible is
a game changer.
We're like, we say that because you say that, and I just smiled because if you knew how many credits Nick Smith has, how many books he has.
I've got over 400 in my library.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't get enough.
Eats it up. And we listen on I listen on 1.7 to 2 speed. Nick is a 2-speeder plus. Like, dude, he just, it's just like.
Yeah. Yeah. Audible is awesome. I mean, back in the day, it was Nightingale Conant with audio cassettes.
Audible.
And then now it's Audible.
Yeah.
And so, those are some of the books that have inspired me.
I read on Audible.
I read on Audible. Well, there are other apps too that truncate the story. So they'll take the entire book and bring it down to a 12-minute chunk so you can get all the main points out of it. And so I love that too, because sometimes my attention, I've got so many things going on that my attention gets limited. We're so dispersed that I want to make sure I capture what I can in the time frame that I have.
And once you build up bat speed, like you've got it dialed in, you're processing these concepts very well. That, what Nick said, is very effective because you can cliff note it. It's like, why do I have to get all the filler stuff here? Just give it to me, give it to me, and you can absorb those concepts.
The problem with it is I do that to people after I listen to it. I'm like, can you get to the point? Where are we going with this?
He's like, stop telling me stories.
I don't think that's too good.
Can you give me the cliff notes?
Yeah.
It's great.
Let's talk a little bit about techniques. Okay, some techniques as examples, right? Anchoring, priming. What are some of your favorite techniques and why?
Probably the technique that's made me the most money is sales scripting.
Yeah.
And people don't, I don't want to be scripted.
Yeah.
And so they resist it because they don't understand it.
Okay.
And so Dr. Moyne probably is the top scripting expert on the planet. He's been my coach for 24 years. And so I've learned so much from him. And what he observed when he wrote his PhD dissertation is that the best salespeople told the same stories, closed in the same way, handled the objections in the same way. And if he asked them, do you use scripts? A lot of times they said no, but they were using scripts. They just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So what happens is if you step back and think about what are the key benefits of your product or service, if you create the script and then you become the script, so you're not sounding scripted, you're just being with the prospect, but you've internalized the key benefits. You've internalized the best talk tracks to overcome the objections. You've internalized how to close. And one way that scripting can really help people is if they're uncomfortable asking for the money. If you get the wording down and you practice it over and over and over and over and over again. So when you get to the end, it's just like, I might say, would you like to be one of the 7 clients that I work with? Or are you ready to get started? Or something simple like that. It's easy. Yeah. And I don't have any anxiety around it.
What's interesting is I can do that all day over in the world of RVs and finance. When it comes to my own products, like Giants and Smalls and doing these presentations, I found myself not wanting to offer my product, right? Like I get nervous, like what if they reject me? Whereas over there, I don't care if they reject me, but over here, there's this attachment to my product. What would you share with somebody around that if you run into that?
Well, if we go upstream from action, right? So you're taking the action, and what's upstream from action is the thought or language around what we're doing.
Beautiful. Yep.
So if we say, I can do it over here for somebody else, but I have a hard time doing it for myself, then that's exactly what's going to show up. So the way I would coach you around it, or anybody listening, is I would say, I can do it for other people and I can do it for myself.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Now, switch it like that. Yeah. And it comes down to what I also heard underneath that is just loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm loving myself, now I've got the confidence to go out and ask for the money if it's for me, or ask for the money if it's for somebody else. And I can relate with what you're saying. Like in my own programs, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And but if we live in the story of, I have a hard time asking for the order, a hard time selling my product, or whatever the case may be, just change the story.
Create
a story.
I can understand, like I can relate to, because this is where I've been in some sales. It's like sometimes you have one shot, and it could be like the phone call that you made, right? Like you're like, oh, he said yes to lunch. And then you practice, but then you get in front of them, and it's not as strong. Like you're like, oh, okay, it's not as strong. I don't know what to. I don't know. Like there's all these undercurrent of emotions and thoughts and things going on, and you have that one opportunity.
Yeah.
When are you going to get to go to lunch with the guy that's fixing world hunger sitting right across from you?
Yeah.
And so you could feel like, I didn't get that right, and it's lost.
Yeah.
But really, you get that practice in it at the RV dealership. For me, I had to kind of shift and go, okay, there's more people. There's 7-8 billion people on the planet. Now, all of them are going to walk through the front door of this dealership, but there's going to be more. And I'm learning through the discomfort. I'm learning through the failure, so that at some point, and hopefully soon, after the second write-up, that it starts to click and it hits, and you get better and better and better and better. But a lot of that's through repetition. You could speed that up though through, like at the dealership, I didn't have much of a coach. I was a lot the same way. Nobody would share their information because it was like dog eat dog over at the dealership.
Yeah.
And so but what I could do is I could sit close enough to where I could listen to what they were saying. I could pretend to walk the lot like I've got something to do, and I'm listening to them, a couple of trailers over, talking to the customer. I could stand up in the sales tower, and I could listen to what they were saying as they were coming up from the customer and going, what to say to go back to the customer, because the managers were what they were calling loading their lips. Go say this, go do this, say this. And I could listen and I practice. Now you could do that with people like Eric that have been through I don't know how many at-bats you've had, but I'm sure it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
And so you find that mentor, you find that person, and don't beat yourself up. You're going to screw up. You're absolutely going to drop the ball sometimes. It's life. It's going to happen. But what do you do from there? Right? Does that make sense? Is that kind of like what we're talking about here? Am I way off in left field?
Yeah.
No, you're doing good.
And I think it is just swinging the bat, and sometimes we swing and miss. And to your point, there's 7-8 billion people on the planet. So if I just keep putting myself out there, I'm not afraid to fail. And I'm just gonna keep. Les Brown says, knock me down 7 times, get up 8. If you can look up, you can get up. And I'm like, I'm living that mantra. I'm just gonna keep swinging the bat. I'm never gonna stop. And I am gonna swing and miss and whatever. And I'm just gonna keep going. And if I go after a big fish and I swing and miss, I swing and miss and whatever. But I'm getting my fair share of hits.
Yeah, I loved that comment right there. Would you like fries with that? It's that easy, right? Would you like fries with that? Steve Chandler used to teach, you want to get as good at saying the numbers like you would a phone number. Like it just rolls off your tongue.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I mean, he's old, so they used to memorize phone numbers. We don't do that much anymore. So, but the idea is practice. It's practice, practice, practice. Every skill is practice. So in mindset, a lot of people might say, well, I don't have the mind for that. Well, that right there, like you said, go upstream from the comment. That is the problem right there. What you just said. I don't have the mind for that. That's what's in the way. It's not the skill set.
I told this client the other day, she basically said, I'm mediocre at closing. Her name is Jerry. I said, Jerry, you're a master of enrollment. Now, somebody who's thinking I'm mediocre at closing, they're not thinking I'm a master of enrollment. Now, if she lives into that idea about herself, okay, I'm gonna sit with this idea. Werner Erhard used to talk about sit with it, be with it. I'm gonna sit with what Eric's saying. Is it possible that I could be a master of enrollment? What would that look like? How would I need to show up? And if she takes that on and lives into that idea, it will transform her selling.
Yeah.
So, like, that's how I like to think about things. Of like, well, I'm not good at LinkedIn. What if you lived into being the best at LinkedIn in your company?
Yes.
And you start showing up as that. And that's what I did with sales training. When I was 28, I said, okay, Zig's getting older. Hopkins is getting older. Jeff Gittimer's getting older. Who from my generation is going to step into those shoes? And I said, whoever puts the repetitions in, the speaking reps and the coaching reps. I'm 52 now. So from age 28 to now, I've out-repped everybody in my industry, more speaking, more coaching. And so I'm just like, I'm just going to be that. And that's what I've done since I've been 28. And it's taken me all over the world, being on shows like this one with you guys, just living into that idea of I am the top sales trainer in the world, not as a competition, just as showing up and being that. And so anybody could do that.
Well, okay. So we've talked about this, Ryan, right? I would like to do that. I want to do that. People might say that I would like to be that. That would be nice.
Today.
Yep. And the difference between what you're describing here and that, I would like to be a top salesman is that still puts it in the realm of wishing when you say I would like to, I want to. But then when it becomes a commitment of I'm becoming that, and I don't know what all is going to be involved into getting it, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And I'm going to follow this path, that path, that path. If Eric Lofholm has the information, I'm going to buy that dude lunch, right? I'm going to invite him on my show so that he'll share his information with me. It's amazing how, if you want an example of how much mentors are willing to share, go back through the 150 plus interviews that we've done on this show where people who are incredibly successful in this world are sharing their information freely. Like,
and Eric does that on his podcast. Like you could get on every day with Eric Lofholm. I guarantee you he has content every single day that will absolutely shift everything that you're doing.
Well, here's an interesting thing. So how I got the meeting with the CEO of the Hunger Project is I showed up as a world's leading expert on hunger. And I didn't say that's who I am to him, but my mindset is this. I'm in kindergarten right now when it comes to solving these hunger issues. I don't even know what the issues are, but I'm just passionate, right?
Yeah.
So over the next 20 years, I will learn the issues. I will become one of the top experts at hunger. And I conveyed this to him. I said, I got a 20-year run in me to help solve this global problem. That's why I want us to meet. And I was honest. I'm in kindergarten right now, but I'm going to learn it. And so that's a mindset, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be in kindergarten forever. Give me a year and I'll probably be in second grade. And in 20 years,
you don't do normal years. You like 4, 5, or 10, 15 years at a time. He's like getting degree on top of degree in a matter of months.
Yeah.
Because of that though, right? Because I am the leading expert on world hunger.
Yeah, I'm going to step into that because I got something that's clicked in me, and I got excited about that idea. Years ago, I helped with there was a fire that burned down the town of Paradise, and I stepped into that.
Yep.
And I created a Facebook group that grew to 34,000 people that were all focused on helping all these people. That the whole town burned down.
Yeah.
We don't have time to go into all the stuff about it, but just to tell you one quick thing, FEMA acknowledged me. FEMA, like, National Disaster Relief. My group was like the only non-organization, because we were a Facebook group. We weren't a nonprofit. And we had a booth in the FEMA building in Chico, California, out of me showing up as there to impact this disaster relief. And I had zero experience with disaster relief.
Yeah.
But I showed up as there to make an impact. And so the bottom line is we have so much ability within us. And if all of you are listening right now, if you'll show up as becoming a sales expert, becoming a master of selling and master of enrollment, becoming amongst the best at follow-up or LinkedIn or whatever, you can like literally snap your fingers and start showing up as that. The whole world will change for you.
During COVID, sorry, Nick.
Nope,
can I go real quick?
Absolutely.
During COVID, I am not a seamstress. I don't sew. I don't know anything about it other than watching my mom, or when something rips or tears, I take it to my mom because she's really good at sewing. During COVID, or just like as it was happening and all the masks ran out and they needed help, it was like, now there's more science on the efficacy of different types of masks. But at the time it was like, there's this need. And I'm like, hey, wait, I'm really good at organization. I don't know crap about sewing, but I'm going to show up as like an organizer, the world's best organizer of sewing and masks and supplies.
Yeah.
And I'm going to kick some freaking butt. And we put out thousands and thousands and thousands of masks because here in Utah, we have Pioneer stock here. They all knew how to sew. So everyone's mama knows how to sew here. So I
remember the elastics too, like trying to get elastics.
Yeah. You could not get elastic. It was gone. Like it was gone. So people are coming up with all kinds of, they're taking out of other clothing to put into masks. Well, Ryan, being that my background was buying and selling, it's sourcing. And so I went nuts. I sourced everywhere, and I put in pre-orders. I did everything I could so that the instant that I got my name at the top of every list, so the instant they had some, it came to me. I had more elastic than anybody probably in the Western United States.
Probably still does.
You can't get it anywhere.
Yeah. You should have seen my house. I look like a drug dealer. I don't condone drug dealing, but I condone selling. I started selling elastic to fund the project because everybody needed elastic. Yeah. And so I was like, hey, you can buy 10 yards at this price and come and get it. And I had seriously, I had little baggies of this stuff, and people would come over and I'd be like, how many do you want? I felt like the biggest pusher on the planet. And I was like, hey, I know how to do this.
I'd like a dime bag of elastic.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. My neighbors, I had to go to all my neighbors and tell them, like, look, please do not call the cops. This is what I'm doing, and this is why, so that we can get, masks to first responders, et cetera, et cetera. And then once that was done, then it was like, okay, here, have this elastic, and gave it all away. But I relate to what you were saying because of that.
It's the being, right? It's choosing into, I am this already. So my body and my mind might not be there yet, but I'm that. So I might have some time to grow into it still, but I am that. It's like the acorn and the oak tree. The acorn is already the oak tree, but it's going to take some time for it to get there. Kathrine Lee talks about that with vision. She creates memories so clear that she has memories of things yet to be. And then they become fulfilled. And I think it's Kellen Fluckinger that says, I am becoming, is what he says. I am becoming, and then he'll put something at the end of it. Yeah. And which I think is a very powerful way to say it, because you are becoming that. And it's a declaration, right?
If you don't follow him, LA Talk Radio, everyone in LA and everyone across the world. Yeah. Kellen is amazing. Anyway, he has a vision, right, of enrolling 50 million people.
50 million. Yeah.
Changing 50 million people's lives, right? That's a big deal. And here we are. Guess what? Because he got involved and we found each other. Here we are talking about it.
Yeah.
It's powerful. what you could do by stepping forward. Eric, same thing.
Eric, if there was one thing you wanted to share in the last 5 minutes here of the show, maybe something you missed or whatever comes to mind, what would you share?
Well, I think it's that you can get better at sales, and there's a stigma to sales in our culture. Selling's arm twisting, it's high pressure, it's manipulation, etc. Yep. And there's a lot of uncomfortableness around sales. And one of the many things I teach is that selling equals service. And for a lot of people, it's like, service, like what? I didn't even know that was a thing. Like you could actually be service when you're selling. And so it's just understanding that we can get good at sales. We can become great. We can master sales if we're willing to put the work in, if we're motivated. Now, I would just want to have people know that's a possibility, that you can be that. And when I got started in sales, there was no possibility that I could become great at this. I'm like, I suck at it. It's who I am. I'm not good at it. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying to hit the quota. And then I got around this, mentor that taught me a different way of looking at it. And so I love just kind of like lighting people up to that possibility that, hey, this is a learned skill that I can get as good as I want at.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. There's no cap on it, right?
Yeah.
It's up to you.
And we're always selling, whether you're a paid salesman of sorts or not. You're always enrolling people into your thoughts and ideas and having conversations. These principles could be used just in daily life. Who do you want to be? How do you want to treat people? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And man, powerful stuff. Absolutely powerful stuff.
Eric, thank you so much. Both of you. The contributions to the dialogue, right? We don't know how it's going to go. Kind of like sales, you have somewhat of a script that you can lean on depending on the situation. So you don't really have to know how it's going to go. You just know that you have the skills that can handle whatever comes up. And that takes practice. For us, we've done so many shows, we can make stuff up on the fly if we need to. And it beats together perfectly. But that's sales as well. It's learning how to get so good at something that no matter the situation or the environment, that you have confidence in that. And you're able to show up powerfully inside of that. Mm-hmm. Would that be somewhat accurate, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just made that up.
See?
Great.
Yeah.
He didn't make that up. Yeah. And I would say, like, look, in the things that you're doing, if you want to find more success and not ever get to the chopping block, the second write-up of life or sales, go follow Eric. The things that he is doing is absolutely incredible. He's all over the place, and he's doing this. He's doing what he says he does. His word is his commitment. His word is his honor. It's his character. You see it because he shows up powerfully, and he will show up powerfully for you. Find Eric, have a conversation with him. You can learn more right here at saleschampion.com. Find him on Facebook. A wonderful human being to talk to. And I had, like, when I first met you, Eric, I'll be honest, I was a little bit intimidated because of the level that and those were in me. That stuff was in here. And I've learned through experience, talking to Eric, getting to know him better, watching him, that he doesn't think he's better than you. He knows he's better than you in sales, so that's what he's going to teach you. But at heart, he wants to show you that you have it right inside of here already. Let's bring it out. Let's hone it. Let's do some at bats. Let's get it aligned so that you can succeed in the things that you're doing. And Eric Lofholm, I promise you, if you reach out to Eric, message him on Messenger, he will get back to you and he'll set up a conversation, and it will be the most powerful conversation that you've ever had.
It's perfect. For everybody that's watching, thank you so much for being a part of our show. We appreciate you. I keep hitting the button as soon as you hit that.
You go. Now I go. Now you go.
Now you go. Keep watching. Share these shows with people that you love. If you know somebody that's struggling in sales and they need a breakthrough, share this video with them. Come subscribe on YouTube and be a part of what we're creating here. Help us spread the message about the giants, about Eric Lofholm and what he's creating. be a part of that. So, and it takes a commitment. I love that. One thing that you do, Eric, is you make long ass commitments, like 20 years.
Really long ass commitments.
So if you're watching and you want to make some long ass commitments, you can do that and help us move this message forward. So we appreciate you. We hope you have a giant evening, and we will see you in the next episode.
Love you too.
Take care.